Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. How are you? How was your holiday? I've got a message coming back here from StreamYard. Something that's not liking. Tough break. Okay. Um, we're just going to remove that one from the feed. Anyway, sorry about that. Welcome back. Hey, how was your Thanksgiving? Did you have a good time? Do you have lots of food, surrounded with people you cherish, enjoying the holiday a little bit, having a day of thanks? We had here in California, we're on an even tighter lockdown, even though we had, we've been, our 14-day lockdown is now in month 8 and month 9, something like that. It's been since March, and we had some tighter restrictions. So we just hunkered down here and spent time on the phone and on Zoom talking with people that we cherished and were important to us. And I was thinking about you and the other people that watch. And I was thinking about you and wondering, what are you doing? We may not know each other that well. We may not even have met personally yet. Thankful for you being part of this series, participating in it, and coming back to listen again and again, hitting the like button, and because you're getting something from it. And that's the whole point. This isn't just to talk; it's to share with you. And I wish we had been able to get together to share Thanksgiving, sit down with big food, plates passing everywhere. Because this weekend really had me thinking about my first year in California. And I remember to this day literally stumbling out of the airport, stumbling out of the terminal at LAX, 2 bags, set them down, sat down on it, smoked a cigarette. Yeah, I smoked in those days. I quit smoking decades ago, and I never was a heavy smoker. That's a whole different story for another time. So sitting there hung over, I mean, green in the gills. I had a horrible flight from Columbus, Ohio to Los Angeles, California, because my friends had thrown a party, going away party. And I remember a little bit around 3 a.m. still going strong, playing drinking games. And I was green in the gills. Sat next to an actor. I won't share his name, but it's someone that you would recognize. And at the time, I kept going, who is this guy? I know this guy. And it was like afterwards, I was going, oh, it would have been so cool to talk to him and act, about what his acting career was like. And he was very gracious, because I hadn't showered. I was hungover. If you've ever been around somebody that's been up partying all night long, yeah, one of those days. And he was really gracious. He's like, yeah, he's not feeling too well, huh? I was like, nah. He goes, first time in LA, show's that bad, honey. Yeah. And today I totally get that. But at the time I was like, oh, who knew? I was getting up and down a lot during the flight. And, the company that had hired me to come to Los Angeles had paid for the flight. So I had a nice seat, something I wouldn't have normally sprung for myself, especially in those days. And I didn't fly much, right? This is the second time I had been on an airplane in my life. I knew nobody in Los Angeles. So I'm hungover. It's a warm summer day. There's a nice breeze off the ocean and LAX, and it is pandemonium. You know how airports are, right? It's just pandemonium. Cars everywhere and people and sky cabs, whistling, blowing whistles, people shouting. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what have I got myself into? Because I know no one in LA. The guy that hired me, I ended up, that interviewed me for the company that I went to work for, Hughes Aircraft Company. Look them up. They're not around anymore. Incredible experience. I learned to this day from that first job experience out of college. Had no idea what I was getting myself into, though. So here I am. I'm sitting there in the shade, feeling the warmth, feeling the hungover still, still green around the gills, just like going, oh, my head's pounding, my stomach's churning, cigarette's not helping. Catch a cab, go to the hotel, and started my journey in Los Angeles. It was summertime, that following Thanksgiving, couldn't really go home. First year on the job, although I was fortunate enough to work in an environment where the company was closed for Thanksgiving holiday. Following year, built up a little bit of vacation time, got my feet wet at work. And it turned out this job that I had unknowingly hired into, and I say unknowingly because it was all about change, We were shaking up how the company operated in some areas. And that started a lifelong journey dealing with those kinds of issues. And it was a perfect job for me. Rebellious kid on a Harley. Hey, what better job, right? Shaking things up in corporate America a little bit. But I was totally unprepared for that. Didn't know what that encompassed, what it really took to be successful at it, and brute forced my way into a career path that served me well. And, you know, that first holiday back, that first Thanksgiving, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family. I don't know what your experience was. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family where we had this huge gathering. I mean, not like tons and, not hundreds of people, but we filled the table, where our elbows are in like this. And then we had the kids, anybody, young adults and not adults were usually at a table out in the kitchen. So, 10, 15 people total, maybe 20 on a really, really everybody's home kind of year. And we would sit down. The cooking would start the day before. I always remember that my mom would start planning what is she going to take, and we would rotate from holiday to holiday, different families, different close friends of the family. So I grew up with that tradition of aunts and uncles that were really friends that are just like this. They've been around for so long, they were considered family. And to say otherwise was just flat out offensive. And them was arguing words, right? You just don't disrespect them like that because they really were family, which has served me well later in life, especially in recent years. So the cooking started before everybody would show up with something, and as a friend of mine from Philadelphia said, hey, you never show up with one arm the same length as the other. You're always bringing something to the table, food, refreshments. Usually, we didn't drink at the holidays, and it was usually, some type of food. The host would cook the turkey for Thanksgiving, usually a couple sides, and everybody else would bring something. And we arrive and get the food all laid out, and everybody'd sit down. Then we'd have some quiet reflection. Because we're why we were really there, to be thankful. It's a day of thanks, Thanksgiving, a day of thanks. And what I learned from that family, from those folks growing up, was they'd survived the Great Depression. They'd gone through World War II. They had had struggles after that. It wasn't easy lives for them, right? And those were just normal middle-class people, school teachers, people that were working. One of my cousins made it into middle management at a big corporation. And, my dad was a railroad guy until he got injured on a job. And then he ended up in, middle management for a company that his friend's father had started. Second generation was running it. So he came on board for a few weeks, ended up staying 25 years, something like that. Maybe your job's like that, or somebody like a lot of careers, a lot of jobs happen like that. Anyway, I'm not the bunny trail too far on that. So we'd sit down and have a moment, moment to think about. And I remember that particular Thanksgiving, the first one back from having moved to California, and looking around the table and thinking about even the people I didn't get along with that well, how thankful I was to be able to sit there and break bread with them again. And we'd also think about the people that weren't there, because over the years, we'd have new faces arrive, new children in the family, and we'd have people that we just all loved dearly that weren't there with us anymore. And someone new would be sitting in their chair, maybe someone's spouse and one of the children that got old enough to sit from the big, at the big table. I remember as a youngster eating at the kids' table and then getting to move to the big table. But it was that from the heart. People that had suffered through a lot, had strived to survive through a lot, and had made it, and still laughed all the way along. The generation that went through the Great Depression, I grew up with them. They brought me up. I was around them. They talk about how hard it was, and then laugh about how much fun they had, and spin stories about stuff they did. They didn't have two nickels to rub together, as the saying went with that generation, but they had a lot of fun, and they still enjoyed it. So it was about dealing with the curveballs that life throws and still finding the joy in day-to-day life. It's really powerful and is a good lesson going into the stuff that you do as a leader, the things we experience in business, because life in the marketplace are always throwing us all kinds of curves, aren't they? 2020 has been I'm just going to say it, 2020 has been a shit show, hasn't it? Right? It's been a crazy year because of all the stuff that's going on. There's more. It's not just the pandemic either. All right, I'm just going to leave that there. It's just been a crazy year. 2021 will be as well. It's just baked in the cake. No matter what we do, if everything went back to normal on January 1st, there's still going to be a good 4, 5, 6 months of turbulence as things get sorted back out. And I'll be really honest. I don't know about you. I don't think it's going to go back to normal on January 1st. I'm not making predictions about things getting better or worse. I'm just thinking we're on a trajectory where things are going to be pretty turbulent for a while. Now, how are you going to deal with that? So I was thinking back to the anchor that I had with that family back in Ohio, even though I was in California. That helped me a lot with dealing with the turbulence that I had from moving to I had never even seen the ocean. Imagine that. I moved to Los Angeles having never seen an ocean. I'd been on the Great Lakes, like here. I mean, I've been on bodies of water where you can't see the shores. I'd seen, 8-10 foot waves during storms. Not the same as the Pacific Ocean, though, is it? You've probably seen the ocean, haven't you? And it's just this weekend I was thinking about that because almost all those folks are gone now. Just those of us are left from our generation. And there's a lot of people that weren't, that I wasn't able to talk to, that I would have loved to have been able to just called up from lockdown, from the great shutdown and chatted with them or looked them up on Zoom. And the few that are, I did that and it felt good. I hope you did too. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving that really was a moment of thankfulness. That was something I learned from that generation that went through the Great Depression, that went through World War II. My mother's father, my grandfather, was in the first war, the Great War, the war to end all wars. It just sounds ironic today, doesn't it? But for him, that's what it was. They went over there, over there. And he ended up getting injured on the battlefield. And if it wasn't for a medic seeing steam, he was in a mustard gas attack. And if it hadn't been for a medic seeing the steam around his mouth or frost around his mouth, they would have hauled him into a mass grave. But instead they stopped, realized he was still alive. And he had heart problems the rest of his life from that, but went on to a good career, raised a big family. People go through those kinds of things and learn from them that, hey, there's always something to be thankful for, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how bad it is, no matter how hopeless it may seem, there's always something to be thankful for. So one of the things that I want to leave you with today is no matter what, no, I'm thankful for you. And if you're in one of those dark moments where you're wondering, what's it all about? Is there really any hope for the future? Does anybody really care? Guess what? Somebody does. And there's a lot more people, but from me to you, looking you eyeball to eyeball, I do care. I do care what's going on. That's why I always encourage you, check in, on chat. I always watch chat. That's why you see me looking over here. I'm always watching chat to see who's talking. And sometimes I miss a comment and I apologize for that in advance. If I do, I work not to. I do care. And I love having that interaction with you. And when you're not out there, when you're not chatting, I wonder, I hope everything's okay given how crazy things are. And looking into 2021, let's move into that year, face that turbulence together. Let's make something positive of it. Kristen, how are you? It's great to see you. Kristen Council. See, this is what I mean. It's always good. It's always good to have people here. Thank you, Kristen, for being part of it. And that is, it's always heartwarming to hear you too, and to be able to connect with you. And what I wanted to say was, let's move into 2021 together. It's going to be a turbulent year. And what can we do to prepare for that? You're a leader, right? In some role, probably in business. I work a lot with entrepreneurs, and that's who this is really, who I'm talking to now. If you're an entrepreneur, this is specifically for you. But if you're not, think about this. How are you moving in to 2021? What are you going to do as a leader to be able to really knock it out of the park, to really make it a year, to seize the opportunities? And there's an ancient saying, in the seed of every adversity, or in every adversity lies the seed of an equal greater opportunity. So guess what? 2021 has some phenomenal opportunity out there. If we can see it, if we can find it, if we can help each other see those moments of opportunity and seize them. Now, I spent, a number of years in a section of my career involved in turbulence within companies, and started out with that position in Hughes Aircraft, In the corporate world, it ended up at McDonnell Douglas before McDonnell Douglas became part of Boeing, where I had an opportunity to be part of corporate teams and then to move on, actually start and run a corporate team where we were dealing with people all over the country in multiple business units doing, amazing stuff. It was amazing stuff. And it was an eye-opening experience. It was an honor to work with those folks. I've been able to continue to work with leaders like that since I rotated out of the corporate world. And here's something. There is a key skill that the leaders that are good at dealing with change, good at dealing with turbulence, good at not just surviving chaos, but being the leader that plants the flag and takes people through the chaos in a productive way that has everybody on the other side going, huh, that wasn't so bad. High-fiving each other, appreciating each other. Think about this. During the Great Depression, there were more millionaires made than there had been at any time in history before then. And I think that record may still stand. There were a lot of people that really thrived during the Great Depression. Something that I heard firsthand from those that lived through it. They said, you know what? It wasn't that bad if you had a job. The problem was 30% unemployment. So a lot of people didn't have jobs, but those that did is like going, yeah, times were tough and it was scary and it was hard to get ahead and stay ahead, but they still thrived. So I'm not predicting, don't take that as a prediction of a recession or a depression coming up in 2021. Just on the trajectory that we're on, 2021 is going to be a turbulent, chaotic, at least the first half of the year. I will make a prediction. I think it's going to be turbulent and chaotic the whole year. It's just a matter of how much. More so at the beginning than the end, hopefully. Here's what I want to present to you. Let's do something together. I'm going to do something we've never done before. We don't do this because there's a 4-letter word that we never deal with. It's called discount. We never discount stuff. But let's do something together. Let's do a 2-hour training, not a seminar. And so there's a difference between learning and training. Training is getting a skill so that you can apply it. Right? Learning is deepening understanding, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, not necessarily taking that applied stuff. This is application oriented. Let's get together for 2 hours and work on that key skill as a leader, you need to be able to be effective in chaos, effective in turbulence, to thrive in this continuing chaotic environment that we've got that's going to go on for a while. Now, what I'm not proposing, I'm not claiming to have some silver bullet to give you some magical answer. My magic wand has been busted for decades. If I could, I'd wave it and have all your heart's desire to you like that. Can't do it though. Sorry. Wrong guy. Maybe someone else can. Not promising that. This is a training. What we will do is we'll work together to go from where you're at when we start the 2 hours to somewhere above that. You'll hone that skill and have a better understanding, be able to apply it so you can be more effective in a chaotic environment as a leader, and also know what you need to do to continue to hone that skill. It's not the only skill, but this is one of the 3, 5 that super high-performing leaders that are specifically good and effective in chaotic, changing, unstable environments, uncertain environments. Uncertainty is something that's going to be with us for 6 to 12 months because of all the turbulence around us. So this is one of those top skills that those leaders have. So we'll talk about that. So shoot me an email at info at here. Let me put this up for you. Got a banner to share. So shoot me an email at 2021 at Adventure CEO TV. Again, that's 2021 at adventureceo.tv. And I'll send you, we'll get you registered and I'll send you a pre-training kit that'll get you started. And we'll take 2 hours and go through a training on that skill. And I don't want to get too much into it because we don't really have the time to explain. And again, not some magic solution that's going to make you instant billionaire. It doesn't happen. I like what Dan Kennedy says. There's no shortcut. You got to put the work in. I've got to put the work in. I don't necessarily care like that, but it is. So I just keep on going. It is something that will definitely help. And it's going to be very interactive. You'll practice this. The reason it's 2 hours is so we can talk about what really is it that it takes to succeed. What is this skill all about? Then we're going to spend an hour actually practicing. So this is going to be highly interactive, highly, roll up your sleeve, find out more. 2021 at adventureceo.tv. And actually, what we'll do, we'll get a registration link up here for you in a bit today, so you can just go and have it automatically emailed to you. But send me an email, 2021 at adventureceo.tv. Now, since this is a compressed 2-hour training, because we do this kind of stuff where we'll go a full day, multi-days, multi-months. We did, I was part of a team with a colleague of mine, Eldonald Luz Fernandez, where we actually did a 14-week series for a group. This is just a piece of those types of trainings. So it will be effective at helping you move the ball forward, be better prepared, start getting that skill into your DNA. See, here's the power of training. And this was something that, Brian Roshbach, founder of Elite Training Center, where I trained for martial arts for a while. One of the things that he was really big on saying was, look, you need to train it and get it in your DNA, because when it comes time to application, you're going to fall back on your training, and you're going to fall back on that memory, the muscle memory of that training. And same thing happens with these types of skills. When you're in the heat of the moment, when you're under pressure, as Clinton Swain, one of my mentors, says, when the emotions are high, IQ drops. Research supports that. He's not just talking, he's basing that on research and years of observation in the training room as well. So when you're in application and, out doing what you do as a leader under the pressure of the moment, and IQ drops a little bit. So you fall back on whatever gut instinct you have. So training is about developing new gut instincts. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So just be a quick 2 hours. Let's do it on December 17th. So I got my calendar over here where I can see I got an opening in this is maybe kind of an odd time for you, but this will help accommodate where you are in different parts of the country. Hopefully we'll do it at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that would be 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're on the West Coast, it'll be 4 p.m. East Coast, it'll be 7 p.m. Only be 2 hours. We'll keep it tight. We will not run over. We are done at 9. This will be, we have to limit the size too. It'll only be 24 people. Otherwise, it won't work. We won't have enough time for you to practice, for everyone to be engaged, and to really make it super high value. So this will only be for 24 people. This is a complimentary training. This is something that I thought about as I'm kicking my equipment. If I don't knock my microphone down, I'll finish here and let you get going. This is something I thought about over the weekend. Going, what can I do to help? What can I do for you? Because you're here watching and appreciate that, and you're part of this community, part of the Wolf Pack. So this is something that is just from my day of thanks that I had on the Thanksgiving holiday to you. We'll spend 2 hours together, 24 people max, no charge, and focus on a key skill that will make you more effective as a leader in the turbulent, uncertain, chaotic times we're living in and will be experiencing, into the near future. So shoot an email at 2021 at adventureceo.tv. It's scrolling down here on the bottom in the Chiron. Send me an email there. I'll get you send your registration info and your so some work to do. You got a little bit of homework to do first. And again, we'll keep it tight, 2 hours. You'll have a chance to do Q&A, and it'll be fun. We'll have fun. We'll learn together. You'll build some skills. And again, this is a training. This isn't a lecture. This isn't going to be death by PowerPoint. I hate that. I was guilty of it earlier in my career and strive not to do it. It will be something that installs the new skill into your, begins to install the new skill in your habits, right? How long does it take to develop a habit? Longer than 2 hours. This is a starting point though. And you will leave with more than you started with in terms of mastery of that skill. I'm going to hold back on saying more about the skill and how it fits into other things until we have a chance to talk at length. So I'm Wolf. Thanks for joining this edition of Wolf's Watch. Kristen, thanks for joining us. It was great hearing from you. And I look forward to seeing you soon on Wolf's Watch, but also in the training room, in the virtual training room. Join us December 17th for, that key training. And I will see you then.